Hello students, welcome to class 5 EVS. Today, let's discuss the chapter Experiments with Water. The main topic we are going to discuss today is why do some objects float or sink in water? Just before getting into the main topic, let me talk about some interesting facts about water. The main objective of this lesson is to develop scientific aptitude in students by conducting experiments, record the observation, and come to the conclusion. Water, the elixir of life, the most common chemical compound on earth, the life sustainer. Water, the magical liquid. We can do a lot of magics with it. About 71% of the Earth's surface is covered with water. The oceans hold about 96.5% of all Earth's water. Water also exists in the air as water vapor, in rivers, lakes, glaciers, in the ground as soil moisture, etc. Now, let's see some facts about water. Water can dissolve more substances than any other liquid. 70% of the human brain is water. A person can live about a month without food, but only about a week without water. Water is the regulator of both the planet and our body's temperature. There is more fresh water in the atmosphere than in all the rivers on the planet combined. It can help in digestion process. It makes our skin glow. It removes toxins and other waste products from our body. Drinking plenty of water helps to fight against the flu and other ailments like kidney stones. The earliest forms of life came from water. Water houses maximum number of life forms existing on Earth. We all know that 75% of the earth is covered with water. So just imagine the number of aquatic animals and plants existing in water. With water, life is fun. Water, a means of transport. Water, source of energy. Worldwide, hydropower plants produce about 24% of the world's electricity. Hydropower supplies electricity to more than 1 billion people. With water, life is fun. Now, let's see the properties of water. The properties of water are it's colorless, odorless, and tasteless. It has no definite shape, but it has definite volume. It can flow from higher level to lower level. It can dissolve many substances than any other liquid. It can exist in solid, liquid, and gaseous state. Now, let's discuss some fun-filled experiments with water. Look at this picture. In this picture, you can see a swimming ring tube, capsicum, apple, ice cubes, and a ball filled with air. All these objects are floating on water. Now, look at this picture. Some objects are floating and some objects are sinking. Now we can see one interesting activity. There is a glass of water in which an orange without peel, that is sinking, but an orange with peel is floating. What is the reason for this? Let me explain the reason for the above activities. When the weight of the object is greater than the weight of the water displaced by the object, it will sink. When the weight of the object is less than the weight of the water displaced by the object, it will float. So, just think what will happen when the weight of the object that is equal to the weight of the displaced water by the object. That time, the object will half float and half sink. To make this concept clear, I have to introduce a new term, displaced water. What do you mean by displaced water? In this picture, you can see two beakers. In the first beaker, the level of the water is around 10 ml. But when we put an object in water, the level of the water increases by 20 ml because the object displaces some water. Here, the displaced water is 10 ml. When we take the weight of the object and the displaced 10 ml water, we can see that the weight of the object will be more than the weight of the displaced water. That is why the object is sinking. In case the weight of the object that is less than the weight of the displaced water, then the object will float. Which one will sink or which one will float? You can see two objects in this picture. One is beetroot and another one is brinjal. Which one will sink? Beetroot will sink. Why? Because the weight of the beetroot that is greater than the weight of the displaced water by the beetroot. Then what about the brinjal? That will float. Why? Because the weight of the brinjal that is less than the weight of the water displaced by the brinjal. Puffed puri floats on hot oil while frying. Why? While frying puri, the water present in the puri is changed into water vapor and gets trapped in between the layers of the puri. This is why the space occupied by the puffed puri increases so that it displays more oil and it floats. Now let's see another interesting activity. A soap dish floats in a bucket of water while a cake of soap sinks because the soap dish occupies more space and it displaces more water than a cake of soap. That is why soap dish float on water whereas a cake of soap sinks. Just observe this picture. You can see two glasses of water and two eggs. In one glass, the egg is immersed. In another glass, the egg is floating. What is the reason for this? When you observe it carefully, you can see that in the first glass, it is written tap water, and in the second glass, it is written salt water. So, the salt is the reason for the same. But what happens on adding salt to the water in which egg is completely immersed? When we add salt in water, the weight of the displaced water that increases. Therefore, the egg starts floating. Let's do this activity. You can see a bottle of water. When will this bottle sink in water? When it is empty, half filled, or completely filled with water? Completely filled with water bottle will sink because its weight is more than the displaced water. If you take empty bottle, that will float because the weight of the empty bottle is less than the displaced water, and weight of the half filled bottle that is equal to the weight of the displaced water. That is the reason half of the bottle will sink and half of the bottle will float. In this chapter, we learned why do objects sink or float in water. When the weight of the object is greater than the weight of the water displaced by the object, it will sink. When the weight of the object is less than the weight of the water displaced by the object, then it will float. You also might have noticed the objects in which the air is trapped, that objects also will float on water. So, let's do more activities and have more fun. Thank you, dear children.